Okay, think for a second.
We can create the stories that define our reality.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Something I'll do with others, any of you that want to participate, let's say the first weekend in March. I think we need a group developed story, a myth about what it's going to be like in the 7th generation now. I want to invite to my house, if it's 12 or fewer. If it turns out to be more people than that, then we'll find some bigger venue. But to come and together generate a story, tell a group story that can be printed up and that will be a myth of what life will be like when we have an economy working that we can respect. So I will put that out once he sends the contact to all of you, and that is an invitation to you. Come be part of generating this story, this myth.
Where do you live here?
Thank you.
I live in Sabattis, in a kind of rural part of Sabattis, and it would take, giving some directions, but we could do that. And as I say, if it's 12 or fewer people, it would be at our home. If it's more than that, we're going to have to find a bigger venue.
Okay. Anybody else? Something that really impacted you? Just something that somebody said.
Well, I think the sharing and caring for all of us, you demonstrated, at least to me, and I'm sure to others, and the sharing and caring in the kitchen, everywhere. It was reinforced that it can happen. It always happens in Maine. A message up north is down south in 1 hour. And it is small enough so that I'm a invader from Massachusetts, and I appreciate the invitation here and appreciate what you have accomplished during the day and to the action. And I do think the action is superb and there's so much energy here that it needs to be captured.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're thanking, you're asking us to give a hand to the dishwashers, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone that I think I needed a reminder, and I occasionally do, that value is something other than dollars and cents, that value has a greater hierarchy other than dollars and cents, and I appreciate you for that.
Okay. Something that impacted you, something you'll do with others, some resource you could use, or some memorable comment, any of the above, or anything else that you can think of.
I'm going to check into
Transition.
Transition towns, okay.
Can you repeat?
Choose check.
She's going to look into transition towns.
Okay. Go.
Just Google it. Yeah, you can do it too.
I'm on a board of a recycling cooperative for many, many rural towns. I'm on a board of a recycling cooperative for many rural towns in Franklin County. And we're finding great competition from the south from a corporation that wants to take away what we've built on a very environmentally sound process. Because it may be cheaper. And it's daunting at times. So today, the whole idea of can do infused me with go back and keep doing it.
Yay.
to get a sense from the group, if anyone else felt as I did, that I consider this a starting point, a catalyst, if you will, and that we need to stay connected. Shouldn't just be an annual thing where we come together and have some good experiences, but find a way to keep this going, and whether if you break it down into cells or you try to keep it as a whole group, maybe using the electronic media, maybe forming a Google Groups, and anybody who wants to be a part of it to carry on to make a bridge to our next annual gathering to see how far we can get. Is anybody else interested? Yes.
Okay.
Did I understand you saying you're going to sort it by zip code or by areas so that people can...
No, well, I can send it out by zip code, yes.
I mean,
Which
so
will
that
not be-
we'll know who our near neighbors are.
Yeah. 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 Joan.
There's a resource that I got forwarded to me through restorative stuff, Northern Public Communication stuff, and it's actually a lecture by Jeremy Rifkin, who actually teaches or taught at the Wharton School of Economics about we have hit a wall in terms of where we are in capitalism, and it's called the evolution of empathy, and that we have to start thinking about everybody else. And it's excellent, because here's this guy who was trained in the old thinking saying, this is screwed, and this is how we have to go. It's on YouTube. You can probably Google Jeremy Rifkin and find it. It's fantastic.
Okay, and Joan, if you send something to me about how to get the article, I'll include that.
One thing I'm going to do is I'm feeling pretty jazzed about starting a mid-coast cooperative centered around permaculture. Some kind of mid-coast cooperative permaculture project.
Okay, well, Chauncey, yes.
Yeah, I'm most definitely going to try and bring these ideals into my high school, into our high school, what I've learned, and also this community, and try and bring more kids in next year, get more kids involved.
Awesome.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to particularly thank the young presenters, well, not just the young, but all the presenters, but specifically the young ones, because they give me so much energy. And I would like to applaud the younger, below 30 years old, who are here right now, especially the high school students.
Speaking of younger.
I'm over
They wouldn't have known.
something I'm excited to continue doing is work on how do we make healthcare accessible. It's our bodies, it's our environment, it's our care. And I would love any ideas or anybody who wants to work on this as well. I live in southern Maine, which might not be useful, but I would love to be in contact with people about our health, how we're gonna have control of it.
Can I respond to that?
Actually, it'd be better just to talk with her afterwards about it, because right now we just want to hear what people's thoughts are, what their inspirations are. Want to keep going with that? Yeah.
Well, one of the inspirations was that idea of a salt march, an issue like Gandhi's March to the Sea. Something to focus on. There's a million things I know we can all focus on, individual work. I'm sure that Governor LePage will give us a lot of things to focus on. But something that we can try to think of it as being worldwide, but something that we can start in place. My wife, her vision of that, just quickly, was the idea of getting what poor people really need is transportation. Any other country, you can take a van from the edge of your driveway. That'll take you into your little town, then you'll catch a bus, then you'll catch a train, and then people can work. You can't work. I live in Solon, Maine. It's 18 miles to Skowhegan. If you want a job and you don't have a car, you can't afford a car, you're not going to work. So that it's just a a spark in my head, a way to keep a project, get a project going.
Yeah, Transition Towns needs those models too.
And another inspiration, David.
Personally and spiritually, the biggest inspiration has been the age range here. I came back in May to attend a couple of conferences in the West Coast, and I went to attend the Spiritual Progressive Conference in Washington, D.C. Every place I went, I was one of the younger guys. I mean, it's like the AARP had taken over activism, you know. So
that's why you should join us in the movement against
to see this range in here, and this is the first place I've encountered the states. It gives me a great amount of hope and a great amount of pride in the state. And second thing, in terms of the one common theme that I heard today, and I'm very sensitive to having spent most of my life in Japan, which is a very corporatized society. It's sort of like the Galapagos Islands of corporate life over there. That if the fact that the scale issue, I really believe that the size of the institutions is what is killing us. Because I've seen good environmental groups grow huge and useless. Yeah. And I've seen it happen on our side of the aisle, and I've seen it happen obviously on the other side of the aisle. And the things I heard today, the Dunbar number, which I'd never heard before, which is like apparently an existential creative limitation on the size of 100, 120, 150 people being the sort of ideal humane vehicle, social vehicle for doing anything. And also hearing about the Amish who hive off after they get 16 or 13 families, and then they form a separate community. And the whole idea that there is a natural scale in society as well as in nature. And if we can make scale an issue, tactically, strategically, and even ideologically, that we can bring not only people from our side of the aisle, the progressives, the Greens, but I think we can approach a lot of the Tea Party people, because a lot of the Tea Party was born out of the disgust and dismay of the huge corporate bodies and the huge government coming together and stamping out everything at the grassroots. And of course, the corporate types intervened, spread a lot of funding around, and the big corporate critique went away, and the big government critique was the only thing that was left. Yeah. Because big corporations are the only thing that's protecting us from total corporate supremacy. So if we can, if we can take it down to a smaller level, I think this could be probably a common denominator to build something like a Green Tea Party movement that could cut across the political spectrum.
Green tea. Speak loudly, I know.
Yeah, I want to get back to Transition Town, and there's a Transition Town that's a really great idea to look at, but I want it to be a little different piece of it. Transition Town has been talking about, starting entities which will make for more self-sufficiency and interconnection in small communities. Larry has been putting out books and I guess computer things now about all the different services and kind of helping organizations in Maine. What Transition Towns can do is actually start out with miniature Larry compendiums of all the different volunteer groups in the smaller organizations. And maybe these exist in a lot of communities, but that's a place to start. These organizations, which really will hold communities together as things collapse, may not want to talk about socialism at all. Yeah. So just forget that. Just talk about how they work together and maintain community and make these lists up and talk to each other about all these different groups that already exist. And then there's some new ones that probably need to be made as well.
Keith?